Everybody's life is organized around something, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Some people's lives are organized around their career or their families. Some people's lives are organized around hobbies or sports teams. Some people's lives are organized around their faith. But everybody has something that essentially is the final decision maker in their choices. Something that, whenever you are presented with any opportunity about what to do or how to spend your time, you ask yourself the question, even just on a subconscious level, how does this affect blank? And if it does not affect blank in a positive or neutral manner, you probably will be unwilling to do that thing, except for under the most extreme of circumstances. So obviously, it is pretty important that whatever this thing your life is organized around, it needs to be something that is absolutely fundamental to your functioning. Fundamental and important are different words. There may be a discrepancy between what you identify as like morally or ethically the most important thing in your life, meaning, what matters most to you emotionally, and what is the most fundamental thing in your life, which is essentially what is the foundational principle that needs to be present in my life? What needs to be okay in my life for me to do everything else that I want to do? Do see a lot of people organize their lives around what they consider to be the most important thing to them. And while this is certainly understandable, I think it's sort of the default way we tend to think about our lives. It can really get us into trouble because the thing that is most important to us may not be our most essential part of our lives. It may not be the thing that if someone pulls that Jenga block out, your entire tower falls down. My most fundamental aspect of my life, it is not the most important part of my life, but it is the most fundamental aspect of my life, is my mental health. Not because I think my mental health is more important than my kids or my faith or my career, but because my mental health is my weakest link. It is the component in my system that is most likely to fail. If anything takes me down, I know that that's what it will be. And I know that because it almost happened. I mean, it is disturbing to think about how close I came to, whether literally or figuratively, losing my life due to poor mental health. So I know that for me, that is the thing I need to organize my life around if I want to keep my tower from falling. So that's how I live my life. The entire blueprint of my day is structured based on personal and professional experience, as well as simply trial and error of what the most important aspects are for my lifestyle that support my mental health, that keep it functioning as well as possible, so that all the other way more objectively important things that I do in my life have the foundation that they need to rest on in order to be sustainable for me. So essentially, what I did to create this blueprint is I asked and then answered the question, what would be the best use of my time for each major section of my day from a mental health perspective? Because you have to have that goal you're working towards, right? It's impossible to evaluate the correctness, for lack of a better term, of any action you might take unless you know where you are hoping that action will lead you to. So, without having this identified structure in your life, you really never know if anything you're doing is good or bad because you have no specific destination that your actions are hoping to lead you to. So, if I say my destination is I want to keep my mental health in as good a shape as possible, every action I choose to take can either support that or take me farther away from it. And if I design my day in a way that supports that, I am in the best possible situation to not have my mental health be the weakest link in my chain. So my mornings, my work days, my evenings, and my nights are all basically structured out in such a way as to keep my mental health functioning optimally. My mornings are all about getting up, getting going, starting the day in a positive mindset, getting enough energy from getting up and moving and reading and eating and doing intellectually stimulating things so that by the time I get to work, I feel ready. I feel good and I feel in a state to do hard work. My workday has all the breaks scheduled in it that I need for things like nutrition, hydration, getting my documentation done, basically not allowing my workday to spiral. Because when my workday spirals and I get behind, getting behind is a big, big trigger for me. When I feel like I'm behind, that can be the start of a spiral. So I have to try to make sure that my day is structured around being able to stay on top of things. My evenings are mostly structured around family time because I know that if I do not get good, high quality family time in, that is something that will really cause my mental health to suffer. And then my nights are focused on basically winding down, getting ready, setting myself up to have a good night of sleep because I know that sleep is also an absolute linchpin for my mental health. And if I'm not sleeping well, I'm going to crash. And also trying to get as many things for the next day as possible set up in advance so that I don't wake up to instant stress and turmoil. Now, knowing what you need to focus your life on and actually being able to execute that plan obviously can be two very different things. I had a period of several years where I knew my life needed to be centered around my mental health for me to remain functional and okay, but didn't really know how to do it. And I went through a lot of trial and error about how to actually execute the plan once I got on board with the plan. I'm hoping that what I share with you today can take several years worth of not so fun trial and error and condense them into about 10 minutes and give you a way to create your blueprint for your optimal mental health. One of the biggest lessons I learned pretty early on in this journey was that I cannot rely on my mind to just keep me on track with the things that I need to do. You might think if I know that my mental health is my foundation and I know the things I need to do to sustain my mental health, that I would probably just do those things automatically because I recognize that they are absolutely essential to my functioning. And although that does seem like it makes sense on the surface, my experience tells me that that is not how my brain works. I don't know if that's true for you guys too. I don't know if that's just like a weakness that I have or if that's a more universal thing. I'd love for you to let me know. But I can't be trusted to just make the right choices, like left to my own devices. I have learned that I need basically a blueprint. I need accountability. I need someone to say, here are the boxes, here are the things to do. Check these boxes every day and you will have the best possible day that you can have from the perspective of optimizing your mental health. And obviously, the person who has to make those boxes is me. And the best way that I have found to do that is by using a productivity app called Sunsama. Now, I use it not in the productivity sense of like stuff I want to get done for work or stuff I want to get done at home. I do use it for that too, but that stuff honestly is secondary. I use it to track my mental health productivity. I set up the daily, weekly, monthly goals I have for myself that I know if I do not do these things, I'm going to be in trouble. And then I basically have the blueprint that I've always wanted, created by me, customized to my needs. Check these boxes every day, and you're probably going to be all right as you can be. And what I really like about Sun Sama specifically is that it kind of combines the best of both worlds for like a really full featured planner and also a mobile app. So it has a desktop version. So you can plan your day on a full size screen with a keyboard and with a mouse, which I find incredibly helpful. In fact, it's literally the first or second thing I do every day is I go over to my computer, I figure out my day. Then it also has a mobile app, so once you set things up on your computer, you have it with you all day long, assuming you have your phone with you. That's essential for me too, because I'm not actually at my computer that much during the day, but I've used mobile only planning and productivity apps, and I just find them really cumbersome to set up with only the touch screen. Now, the majority of my day is the same, at least like Monday through Friday. I'm a pretty regimented person, so I don't actually have to do very much to set this up every day. You can set up recurring things, like I have recurring go for a walk, recurring read a book, recurring, etc., go to bed at this certain time. So most of my day is already planned out and structured for me before I even wake up, and it actually needs very little input from me. But I still like to be able to just see it all laid out and figure out, okay, here's what I have to do today. Here's how I can stay on track with my mental health. Sansama is an affiliate partner in this video, so I will put a link to their program down below if you want to check it out. And there's one other thing I want to say on that, and this ultimately is going to get into a much larger topic that I am going to make a separate piece of content on. But if you're finding this idea of basically having a blueprint for your day and having pretty consistent structure and doing a lot of the same things every day, because those are your sustaining factors for your mental health, if that sounds really boring or just kind of torturous to you, I get it. And I probably would have said the same thing for a lot of my life. But then I also would have realized that I never actually tried that. And so if that's your reaction, like doing mostly the same things every day has to be miserable, has to just be this awful, boring grind of a life. Are you speaking from experience? And if you're thinking, yes, I am, because that's how I feel about work or that's how I feel about school, I would say those do not count because those are kind of things you're doing for yourself, but they're also kind of things you're doing for other people or for some external goal. And I think that changes the equation completely. Figuring out what your optimal daily essentials are, and then building them into your day in such a way that you will not forget to do them and that you will be held accountable to whether or not you did them might have a few days adjustment if you're not used to it. In my experience, actually feels kind of amazing because to me at least, it feels like I finally have some of the answers that I have been looking for such a long time, which is what the heck am I supposed to do? I know that I need to be doing things, and I generally maybe even know what things I should be doing, but I don't always know how to take all this knowledge that I've acquired and put it together into one cohesive, meaningful plan. I am not claiming to have mastered it, and I'm sure if you looked at my daily schedule today compared to like a year from now, I'm sure I'll make changes. I'm sure I'll make improvements. But I actually find it incredibly fulfilling and incredibly satisfying to live life in a way that simply supports my optimal but I actually find it incredibly fulfilling and incredibly satisfying to live my life in a way that does simply support my optimal functioning. And I've learned that I feel far less tempted to chase cute, pleasurable experiences if my baseline emotional state is better. I don't need to constantly be looking for this next thing or this next level because I'm actually okay most of the time. And a lot of people would take that for granted, but I have a feeling you guys don't. I have a feeling you know that feeling okay most of the time is actually a pretty incredible accomplishment and is absolutely something worth pursuing. So, if that makes sense to you, and if that sounds desirable for you, I really hope that in one way or another, you consider making sure your life is structured around whatever is most fundamental for you. Even if that means it's routine, even if that means it's a little mundane, I don't think you'll mind if you finally find the consistency and the stability that you have been longing for. I know that was the case for me. Take care, and I will see you next time.